everybody. Welcome to another episode of the podcast where we ask the question. Oh no.
Oh, I have COVID.
Tom has COVID. I'm coming off of like a really terrible migraine. Yonel, do you have any physical ailments that you would like to complain about?
No, just burnout.
yeah, that's a fair concern. This is the podcast where we ask the question, remember the Aughts? And we talk about everything from, I was thinking of Damaged by Danity Kane to that Vanity Fair spread of all of the teen stars in 2003. They're all wearing like taupe, magenta, and like violet, and it's all like shiny materials. And I think that's where Lindsay Lohan and Hilary Duff found out they were both dating Aaron Carter.
Wait, that was the thing that happened?
What? You haven't seen these pictures?
Well,
I bet if you saw this magazine, you'd remember.
They dated him at the same time?
Yes, this was like a whole drama. Actually, I firsthand was involved with the Lindsay Lohan, Hilary Duff drama.
How?
Because I went to go see Aaron Carter in concert when I was a kid because A-Teens was opening up for him, and that was really the most important thing to me. And Lindsay Lohan was there because she's from Merrick.
That's right.
Lindsay Lohan was there, and I got to meet her. She was very nice. I was like a nervous little 9-year-old. But yeah, they were dating at the exact same time, and that Vanity Fair spread is apparently where they found out. I think somebody was asking Hillary, like, hey, how's your relationship going with Aaron? And Lindsay Lohan was there, or it was like vice versa. Somebody asked one of them, like, hey, how's your relationship going? And the other one was like, what do you mean you're in a relationship with Aaron Carter? I'm in a relationship with Aaron Carter.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Isn't he also like a out there all like, he's old, like he's I think a little older than us. Isn't he like in his mid-30s but looks like a wannabe e-boy SoundCloud rapper who's also super
I think he's
MAGA?
my age.
Yeah, he is not well. I think that whole family has experienced a lot of things. Yeah. We also saw his sister, Jessica I think her name was Jessica, who had a single. She's since died, I think, of drugs. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, I think he's got a lot of demons now. Yeah.
I feel
but Lindsay Lohan's engaged.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
Mm-hmm.
To who?
Just every time I see Aaron Carter, I think he's going to drop, like, a SoundCloud link to his January 6th rap.
I wish that was his only issue. But I think there's a lot more going on there.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Speaking of tragedies. I don't know where I was going.
Perfect segue.
I'm like waiting. I'm like,
It's because Courtney mentioned before, like, these movies can be tragic. And I was, like, thinking, like, speaking of tragedies, and then I'm like, but wait, of all of them, at least the first 5, this one's the one that doesn't end in tragedy.
I mean, it kind of still has a tragedy.
Yeah. It has a couple tragedies, but it I guess we're going to get to this point. It has a very ominous ending.
What was that, Yonel?
It has an ominous, ending. The very end of this movie. So we're going to get to it, but it's like, oh, wow. This is weird. This makes me feel a different way. But we'll get to it.
Where should we start? I mean, this one was made in 2004, which to me is like the best year for making movies.
It was a pretty good year. This is, just so we say it, this is the episode for Spider-Man 2.
Where you been, pal? You don't return my calls.
I've been kind of busy.
Taking pictures of your friend. Spider-Man killed my father.
No matter what I do,
Do you love me or not?
no matter how hard I try,
I want Spider-Man dead.
It's the ones I love who will always be the ones who pay.
I can't keep thinking about you. I'm getting married.
I want a life of my own. I'm Spider-Man. No more.
Yep.
Spider-Man.
Our guest host Yonel is back.
Hi, everybody.
Yay! We did not scare him away from the last time.
No. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, and definitely another one that, was a staple of my, teenage years.
Oh, so freaking good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It felt so good to rewatch it. Did you guys also feel really good rewatching this?
I knew that I knew it was gonna be a good movie. Like I knew, oh, this is a great movie. But actually watching it, it gave me all these emotions, and I'm like, there's just the first movie is it's a good movie. It's really solid, right. But it seems like they're getting their footing down. It's like the first type of movie like this. But Spider-Man 2, they just kind of nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did something that a lot of adaptations kind of fail at doing, or not really good at doing, is that they kind of take the source material and made it better, right? Especially with Dr. Octopus. They gave him a lot more character and a lot more depth than what's in the comic books. And it's inspired Spider-Man in different mediums, including the recent game that came out in, I think, 2018. That character's demeanor is definitely inspired by Alfred Molina's portrayal.
I mean, I don't think that this character would have the same gravitas if it weren't for such a classically trained actor like Alfred Molina.
Yeah. I read somewhere there were a couple people that were considered for the role before Alfred Molina.
Yeah.
Two come to mind. I know there's more. Ed Harris and Christopher Walken.
Interesting.
Oh my god.
That would have been wild. I'm like, wow.
There are some nights, I think I told Tom this, but Yonel, I don't know if you knew this. There are several nights when when you're trying to go to sleep, but you still just get a little giggly. Yeah. And then you have trouble sleeping, and then you're just having a laughing fit. Yeah. Several of those nights for me and Joe are because we both just get into a Christopher Walken voice. We just start repeating things. So I'm just picturing now, what that would look like for Spider-Man 2. Peter Parker. Wow.
Oh my goodness. First of all, nice impression.
Thank you.
Second of all, that would have been, that movie would not have been as good as it is if anyone else but Molina actually played him.
You don't think that would have been as intimidating?
No, I've just been it's okay. I guess Doc Ock's from Brooklyn, he's straight New York. Damn. I mean, I guess that's what he is, but damn.
Well, what I love about his performance in this movie is that he's playing two characters. He's playing Dr. Octavius, but then he's also playing Dr. Octavius kind of being controlled or manipulated by the arms.
Right.
I found this out recently, and there's theories about it because in the new trailer for No Way Home, when the arms are in control, their eye bits are red. So there's clear signs of when he's kind of getting control, and then when the arms are truly kind of running the show. And so he's playing himself versus Spider-Man.
Wow, that's a really good point. I mean, the scene where, and I'm just mentioning it a little bit before we get into it, and I think this is why you need somebody who is classically trained like Alfred Molina, is because he knows how to give a beat before responding to himself so that you can sort of insert what you think the tentacles are putting into his head. Scene where he's becoming Doc Ock, you can feel the sort of interaction, even if it's just with these metal clasps,
Right.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen this movie. I watched it as a kid with my mom. It's called Not Without My Daughter. Have you guys heard of this movie?
I have not.
No, I've never seen it.
Okay. It's this drama with Sally Fields and Alfred Molina. This was the first movie that I ever saw him in. It's based on a true story where an American woman, is married to a Muslim individual, and he takes her back and their daughter to their home country, and then he starts to act more possessive, and then she feels like she can't escape her home. He's like more abusive, and it's about her escaping with her daughter. It's a very good movie. I don't think it would age well, considering Alfred Molina is not Middle Eastern at all. He is Italian and Spanish, and British. He's a British citizen. But it was a really good movie. I also don't know why I watched it as a kid with my mom, but having that context, I already knew about his acting ability before Spider-Man 2, and as a tween, I was like, yes, Alfred Molina from Not Without My Daughter. I can't wait to see him as the villain in this movie.
That's hilarious. You're just like, I know this actor before you guys even heard of Spider-Man 2.
Yes, the critical success of this drama.
A stiff upper lip.
Did you know? I found this out because to bounce off what Yonel was saying before about different people considered, one of the original story ideas was to make Doc Ock Peter's age and to have it be a love triangle between Peter, Doc Ock, and Mary Jane.
Thank God they didn't do that.
Yeah. That feels like an amazing Spider-Man story plot.
No, that sounds like a fan fiction that should only stay on Tumblr.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it would be a really good one. Yeah.
That'd be. I'm sorry. You kind of took me back with that. That's a little that just takes. Okay. It's a weird thing.
You threw Yonel off his game.
Yeah. Just imagine.
But instead, Mary Jane is in love with J. Jonah Jameson's son, guy who went to space.
Elijah from the Vampire Diaries and the originals.
Yeah, but who cares? He went to space. What?
Okay, no.
Damn, all right.
No. You can't talk about the Vampire Diaries like that. Whoa.
I'm saying I don't like this man. I don't like him.
He's very awkward, and I feel like his acting is very awkward in the Vampire Diaries too, but it works better in that.
I know.
I saw his name in the opening credits, Daniel Gillies, and I thought the same thing that I did when I looked him up for Vampire Diaries. I was like, is he related to Elizabeth Gillies? No, I don't think so. And I was like, where have I heard that name before? And then I realized, oh my god, that's Elijah from Vampire Diaries.
I have not seen Vampire Diaries.
There are, similar to the first movie, a lot of small roles with famous faces.
Oh yeah, we can list them off now. We can. I was surprised to see. Why is my brain not working?
It's okay. It's the COVID.
Joey Diaz, comedian Joey Diaz. He's in the subway car. He's the one that's you want to get through him, you gotta get through us.
Oh, that guy. Yeah. Just classic
scene.
New Yorker. Yeah.
That scene for me.
Emily Deschanel.
Emily Deschanel, way at the beginning.
Yeah, and then Joel McHale with old Joel McHale hairline.
Being a jerk that he plays very naturally, but I don't think he actually is a jerk. I think he just gives off good jerk energy.
No, he knows how to play the douche.
Yeah. And then Hal Sparks in the elevator.
It's so interesting going back to these movies and seeing some of these actors that are, I guess, big now or semi-big, and it's just wow, I can't believe I didn't know. I think his boss in the pizza place is a comedian. I can't remember the name at the top of my head.
At Joe's Pizza Place, which is, for those not from New York, a real famous New York pizza place.
Asif Manvi?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I don't know his name, but I've seen him before.
He's in so many things. He's great. He's really great. I feel for him because his career has taken some very weird twists and turns. I don't like the accent that I'm assuming was put on him to do for this role. But he is also in the Last Airbender movie by M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah. But he's a great actor.
Yeah.
And he's a great comedian. So, I mean, that's where the movie starts. It starts with Peter Parker is like running late to do his job at the pizzeria. He's trying to make ends meet. And then, it doesn't work out. Should we get into it?
Yeah, we can get into
Let's
it.
get into it.
Yeah.
He's the pizza delivery man, which if you've ever played Spider-Man 2, one of the best Spider-Man games is that pivotal mission.
Yo, do not get me started on that game. That game.
Did you love that game?
I love that game.
Courtney, that game was incredible.
Really?
The amount of hours I spent playing that game throughout like my sophomore year of college or junior year, not college, high school, is insane. It's insane. I wore out the disc because I played it so much.
Aww.
That game was great. Well, that was like the best Spider-Man game until 2018.
Yeah. It was what made what the selling point of that game. It was a movie tie-in with Spider-Man 2. And what to get a little technical, what made it really good is that it made you really feel like Spider-Man. So Spider-Man's webs, as you would swing through the city, and it was an open world city, was that it would actually stick to buildings. So you had to learn how to navigate through the city as Spider-Man.
Oh, wow.
Right? And it was like really, really, and the way they designed it was really good. And I remember playing that game and just like leveling, I think you could level up his speed while swinging. And you could cross Manhattan in like 6 minutes or whatever. You have no idea. Like I did everything and anything in that game.
Aww.
To just that was a pivotal point in my upbringing when it came to gaming. Yeah, it's one of my favorite games of all time. I can't go back to it now.
Sure.
But to Tom's point, one of the missions I hated, you might like it, Tom, and I don't know if you're being sarcastic, was delivering pizzas because you couldn't flip while you're swinging. You couldn't flip
because you ruined the pizza.
And it's just like you would fail the mission, or your customers will complain, and it's just like, oh my god, this is like you essentially have to basically run and swing once, and then land, and then run. It's just like, oh my goodness, this is so ridiculous. That and balloon chasing.
Oh,
balloon chasing?
I hate any of these open world games. There's always like race against time missions, and that was the balloon one. It's just the pizza ones were tedious, but that music is iconic. That funny music.
Oh, yeah.
It's pizza time.
Yes.
Pizza time.
Oh my god, I should have went back and played that. That was that was a very interesting game.
I feel like in the 2000s there were a lot of video games that were sort of the plot of a movie, and you just had to go through it, and then they'd add extra things. Like I remember we played Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets on GameCube.
I heard that was also a very good game. I think
it was a good game.
I think YouTuber Eddie Burback talked about it, and it looked like a fun game.
It was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. We tried to get my mom to do a flying lesson, and she just kept driving the broom into the ground. So it was definitely worth it.
God bless.
That's funny.
But so we start off Spider-Man 2 with Peter is completely burnt out. And he's like running late to his courses. He's trying to do 2 jobs. This is very much me from a year ago. Also at Columbia University. But they like start a scene off there where he is like late to his class. And we see Dr. Kurt Connors, who would have been the villain for Spider-Man 4.
Yep, he would have been the Lizard Man.
That's right. I
The
just don't see...
lizard Tom.
He would have been Mark Zuckerberg, as Mark Zuckerberg. Did you guys see the design layout that they had intended for his lizard?
Yes, I saw it in the they're online with like a lot of the original concepts for like the vulture and some of the aspects of Spider-Man 4.
If I can look it up. Dylan Baker. I just can't really see that actor being a big villain, but also, like, I know he's been in a lot of things, but Yonel, I'm gonna send you this picture so you can see it. And yeah, then we get the scene of, like, he goes to, like, tie his shoes or pick something up, something stupid that Peter Parker needs to do, and then he's just getting knocked back and forth by other Columbia students, which is just so cruel.
But it's also kind of funny.
It is funny. So
I'm like, this guy can't catch a break.
So Yonel and
make him as pathetic as possible.
I think Yonel and I know the same fact about that scene. The man who hit Peter Parker with that bag was the director Sam Raimi.
Yes, this I heard of too. That's why I asked you guys if you saw the bloopers, because in one of the bloopers, Sam Raimi like knocks into him with a backpack, and then the strap hooks onto Tobey Maguire's face and just kind of drags him along a little bit.
It was like by accident or something.
Yeah, but it just sort of adds to the patheticness of Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker that everybody hates.
I love that though. I love when that stuff like that happens, where it's like something that was a slight mistake, and it's just like, you know what? This adds to it. It makes it even better. Let's keep it in there. So knowing that fact, I'm like, that is hilarious, because he just like knocked down and people just bumping into him, and then backpack strapped straight to the face drag. And I'm like, this is, man, I feel sorry for this kid.
Now for me, this begs the question: do you think that? Because there, obviously, we talk about Spider-Man 1, and there was that rumor where they asked the guy to accidentally actually hit Tobey Maguire. Do you think some of that, like, resentment carries on into this movie with the cast and crew? Because there was this story, do you know the story, where Tobey Maguire did drop out briefly from Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, but I thought it was because of a back problem.
That is true. He dropped out because he had a back injury, and they actually casted Jake Gyllenhaal to play Spider-Man. But then... Oh,
right, because that's when he's dating Kirsten Dunst.
Yes, but then apparently his back was fine, and the rumor is that... Because he signed the agreement for the 3-picture deal, but part of the thing was Tobey Maguire's agents thought that they could try to get a better deal. They wanted, I think, like $25 million for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess like they already signed the deal, and like I know I'm not saying anything bad about Tobey Maguire as an actor, but are you really gonna like miss out on being Spider-Man?
Right.
Yeah. At the same time, Spider-Man is Marvel's like biggest cash cow. That's why Sony won't let go of it.
Biggest superhero cash cow of all time. Like, yeah.
It's a big fat cow.
Yeah.
It's a big fat Kobe beef cow that they've massaged and given wine.
Big fat spider.
Big fat spider. Yonel, did you take a look at the link that I sent you in the Discord?
I saw that. That's a wild concept art. But at the same time, I won't say exactly. It's like they use the same design for the Andrew Garfield one. I mean, if I remember it correctly, it's kind of like that humanoid lizard / face. Because, there's different ways they portray him in the comic books, as a giant alligator or just like a humanoid lizard. And so I wasn't even expecting this. I thought that they would go maybe a little bit more like a lizard alligator thing. But yeah,
I feel like this is a little less cartoony than the Andrew Garfield one.
Yeah.
From what I remember, I feel like it was just a little bit more dinosaur-esque in the Andrew Garfield one. But I also really liked Rhys Ifans, the British guy. I thought it was Bill Nighy for a while when I wasn't feeling well yesterday. And then I remembered that it's Rhys Ifans. But I thought he was really good in it.
I don't really remember much of his portrayal. To be honest, I hate those movies. I hate them. It's just like, these movies were unnecessary.
Okay, I was fine with the first one. I have not seen the one where Gwen Stacy dies.
Please don't.
Yeah. But so he's meeting with Dr. Kirk Connors, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna do a paper on Dr. Octavius. And he's like, okay, that's a friend of mine, so be careful. You better do it justice. And then he goes to meet with his friends for his birthday. And I feel like this whole interaction is very uncomfortable for a birthday party.
It was, because but didn't they surprise him? I don't think he knew. Or
they surprise him.
They surprise him. He goes to Aunt May's house, and Mary Jane and Osborne are there. Mm-hmm. And he comes up to him and he goes, Peter, you're my best friend. I love you. Why won't you tell me about Spider-Man?
He's like, dude, you're my best friend. I miss you. I haven't seen you in so long. How fucking dare you side with that spider?
That goddamn Spider-Man.
And then also, like, Mary Jane is just in the other room. Like, you can see her walking by, and then they're just talking about her. And it's like, she's right there. I feel like she'd be able to hear everything.
Oh, yeah.
And Harry's all like, dude, she's waiting for you. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, dude, go to her. Go to her.
Oh, creepy.
But yeah, this is the movie where Kirsten Dunst said that she got a much better wig than the first one.
Yeah, because something I noticed even as a kid, it was her hair color.
Yeah.
In the first one, it was like stark red, like the comic was kind of red. But in this one, it's more, what do you call it? Auburn is the wrong word for it. It's more of the natural red, like people who have naturally red hair. Yeah.
I think it's more of the, like, strawberry blonde. It's, like, more natural looking. And her career is taking off. She is, like, the star of this play on Broadway, and her face is everywhere on a billboard thing. It's everywhere. So she's doing well, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like, you kind of start to see, like, where their lives are all starting to separate, and you know, they're trying to make an effort to spend time with him, even though James Franco's character is, like, making it really tense.
Yeah, it's just like, bro, relax.
Yeah. It's like, I know he knows the guy who killed your dad, but also it's not like his dad was a good dad to him anyways.
Yeah, it's just like, it was... You know, it goes going back to like Spider-Man 1. It's just like he was kind of a dick to you for the majority of the movie, and then he's nice to you, and then you're like, I must avenge his death. And I know that's your dad, but at the same time, I'm like, he was a terrible father.
Yeah, like he always reminded him of his disappointments of him.
Yeah, and just totally crushing on Peter like every chance he got. Yeah, it's just like you could just see it on his face. How come you can't be more like Peter? Like, you know.
Don't want to make this obvious, but, like, I wish you weren't my son, and I wish Peter was my son.
Exactly.
But so Harry offers to introduce him to Dr. Octavius. One thing I do really love about comic book villains is when their names oddly pair with their villain names. I know it's, like, so silly.
Yeah.
But I love it so much.
I love it, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, this is... Man, imagine meeting someone named Dr. Otto Octavius. It's just...
Yeah.
A little on the nose. You know?
And then that's how he gets to meet Dr. Octavius. And then, like, Harry just puts on the douche, right? Like, he just... is like, my man, and Dr. Octavius is like, I fucking hate this kid so much.
I only deal with him because he's funding this project.
Exactly.
I feel like
he's the money.
He's also like, wow, Peter Parker is my new son. Sorry, Harry.
Well, like,
Harry's just like, ah.
What I love about this scene is that Dr. Octavius and Peter talk, and there's like this genuine connection. And Octavius tells him his plan, and immediately Peter's like, isn't that just going to destroy literally everything?
Right.
Yeah.
You want to build a small sun.
Yeah, so you want to talk about this? This is a little bit of a crazy idea. I guess because it's just like he's a mad scientist, so it makes sense. But he's building a sun in the middle of Midtown Manhattan. So,
yeah.
What the fuck is this?
Space.
What the hell is he doing?
At least
How's
go
the
upstate, you know?
Yeah. How's the scientific community be like, no, stop this. This is literally insane.
Because money. They need money.
Exactly.
Always need money.
He's building a sun.
He's building a sun.
What's better
Not
than
Harry,
one?
that's for sure.
What's better than one sun? Two suns.
But I love this scene because like it just makes it that much harder to see Dr. Octavius go through his transformation. Like, Norman is always kind of a dick. So, you know, there's not as much of a reason to empathize with him. There is because, you know, it's his best friend's dad. But at the same time, like this, he's like a good person who is just doing this for research's sake.
Yeah. I think he mentions he's doing it for unlimited energy, and I think Harry wants to. I don't know if he mentions that, or I don't know where I picked this up. He wants like money off of it, military applications. I think that's the normal thing that that most of these like corporate types like. But it's clear that Harry and Doc Ock aren't on the same page of what to do with this.
Yeah, there's such an innocence to Dr. Octavius that I feel like Alfred Molina really plays into.
Yeah, and him and his wife and everything.
Yeah, and I think that's what Alfred Molina said that he loved playing Dr. Octavius for, is that he felt like, you know, when you can have a villain that you can humanize, it makes it that much easier to play him because then he has that depth that he can work with. He mentioned that he didn't like the mustache twirling villains, that he liked that Dr. Octavius, like this was an accident that happened to him. It was like a reluctant villain.
Right. What's interesting that they did in this movie when it comes to his origin compared to the comic books is like I don't remember, and I think this is an unintentional side effect, like why Doc Ock becomes a villain, right? Like I think he gets these arms and then he essentially just becomes a villain. There isn't really a reason why, right? And in this movie, they make him a sympathetic hero, right? Doc Ock is on the same level as Green Goblin as far as like top tier enemies for Spider-Man, because you know Doc Ock is kind of what you know, it's kind of like that whole thing with heroes and villains, a dark reflection of each other or whatever. Like Peter, if he goes kind of nuts or whatever, can become Doc Ock. It's the same thing with Norman Osborn. And I love the way they handled it, because I remember thinking when I saw it, and this movie I saw in theaters, by the way.
I saw this one in theaters also.
Same,
they actually give him a reason, and I really loved that as a kid, and they made him very sympathetic. I'm like, man, the dude was just trying to do the best he could, and then it just went awry, and he made, you know, like how villains make heroes or whatever. I feel like he did a good job, Alfred Molina, in his portrayal as Doc Ock, making him more sympathetic and making the movie even stronger.
Yeah, and to go from like making unlimited energy for all to I'm going to destroy the world by building a second sun, that is a steep hill to climb.
Right.
And to make that transition make sense and make it sympathetic is very, very difficult, but they do such a good job.
Yeah. Well, like what I feel like with Doc Ock in this movie, because to bounce off what Yonel was saying, like, because at first he has this really strong ambition. He has this goal. It's being funded by Oscorp. and it goes, but his ambitions fly too high, and it goes wrong, and his wife is killed, and he's like embarrassed publicly in front of like all these investors. But
he even says Icarus.
Yeah, exactly. He flew literally too close to the second son, the one that he made. But
the little one.
And then like there's this weird thing where like the arms, because the arms they do mention the arms are sentient, but they operate under his control due to that chip. But the chip breaks, and there's like he loses everything that kept him human, and that's when his arms kind of their sentience takes over, and he fully invests in the vision. Like, we know as the audience that his vision's going to destroy all of Manhattan, but his ambitions are clouded and are like, no, I can't be wrong. This is right. I got to do it. And it's this weird parallel with, because this movie about Spider-Man, especially in this movie, is this idea that Peter is balancing his life with the responsibilities of being Spider-Man. And it's very difficult. But it's even more difficult because he refuses to ask for help. Like, he's afraid to be vulnerable. And that's why, like, everything's a struggle and a challenge for him. Like, he only has so much to gain by learning to be vulnerable. Like, maybe I'm speed running to, like, the point and the theme of the movie. But, like, that's, I think, the character parallel between him and Doc Ock. Doc Ock is doing everything because he's lost everything because of his ambitions and has nothing to lose, whereas Peter has to learn it's okay to be vulnerable and get, like, essentially ask for help. Like, I mean, being he could do all the human being things he could literally get help with. It's okay. I mean, it's difficult, but it's better than not doing it, because his solution later in the movie is to just give up being Spider-Man. He's just like, fuck it. We get the raindrops are falling on my head.
My Burt Bacharach. Yes.
And he eats a fun fact. Remember the scene where he eats the hot dog? That's a vegan hot dog because Tobey Maguire is vegan.
Fucking Tobey Maguire being vegan. You eat that New York hot dog in that dirty water and you like it. What was I gonna say? Oh man, I lost my train of thought. Oh, we almost forgot the biggest small role new big actor, Daniel Day-Kim.
Oh, yes.
Daniel Day-Kim is the person helping him and is like, oh no, we're having a problem. And I'm like, oh my God, we had one person who was in the bad Last Airbender movie, and now we have the guy who's going to be Lord Ozai in the new Last Airbender. I'm like, what? This is crazy. I love Daniel Day-Kim. He's great. But, so we were talking about, like, how we all saw this in the movie theaters, and, like, there's this big scene where, you know, he loses control of the second son. This is actually the first time I had seen that scene, because as a kid, I was terrified, and I definitely had every right to be scared, because this is where I think Sam Raimi's horror experience really comes into play.
Are you talking about the hospital scene?
The hospital scene, like when the son is getting too big and things are falling apart around him, like way that they use the glass to come to Rosie, but they never actually show it hitting her. Like, I was way too afraid of that as a tween. But I think
it was extremely powerful.
It's really powerful.
To portray her death. Seeing that, I was like, wow, that says a lot compared to just seeing her just being, I don't know, her neck sliced open or whatever. That one is pretty ominous. And the shot is really good, by the way. Like, the idea of the shot, like, off the glass, it's like, wow, this was actually... In this movie, there are a couple scenes where I'm just like, wow, that's a very interesting way to show this kind of thing or this viewpoint. Like, I know we're skipping ahead when I talk about this, and when Spider-Man is he's coming to fight Doc Ock on the clock tower, and you see the reflection off of Doc Ock's sunglasses, and I'm like, wow, that's a great shot. Like, this is really interesting. Why did they? For me, I'm like, oh, that makes the movie that more timely. But going back to what you were talking about, there were that scene in the hospital, and just seeing like the entire apartment kind of cave in once when things start losing control, when you start losing control, it is kind of like, oh my god, this is. It's like, oh my god, this chick got real.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you guys know that they used a gigantic like beach ball for the sun when they were doing the scene?
Oh wait, yeah, I did know that. I did know because isn't one of the bloopers they replaced him with William Dafoe, right?
Yeah, they Tom, have you heard about this?
No.
So Yonel, do you want to explain it?
Yeah, I don't I guess there's they played a trick on Alfred Molina or there's like a blooper or whatever, but they got William Dafoe to play Doc Ock when he's trying to control the sun.
All right, practicing and action.
This precious target is the fuel that makes this project go. There are only 25 pounds on the planet. I want to thank Harry Osborn and Osborn Industries for providing it.
Excellent, Willie.
And it's just like Alfred Molina steps into the scene and he's just like, oh my god. It was like a cute, heartwarming moment.
It was so cute. It was
I'm
so
like,
cute.
this is awesome. Like,
Between these two,
I miss that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like between these two famous villains, and it's so cute because like they like tape Willem Dafoe talking to I think it's Sam Raimi. I don't know what he looks like in real life, but he's talking to like one of the crew members, and it's really cute. And Alfred's like, if you want me to do the scene better, like I'll do it. Like he's like talking about like I'll take the criticism, and then like you see his reaction first, and he's like, oh my gosh, and then they go over to the reactor and you see Willem Dafoe like in the tentacles, in the goggles, and the wind is like blowing in his face and he's repeating Doc Ock's lines, and it's so cute, and he did a good job too.
Yeah, he looks like that like that crazy like ding ding, like he's like overacting. I love it.
Yeah. Did you guys know that Doc Ock was supposed to make an appearance in the first movie?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
That's one of the problems Sony has, is they love saying, we did a good thing. Let's just, the second time around, let's just cram all the villains in.
I know. They too fly too close to the sun too many times.
And then what happens? It's just ends up being a mitigated disaster.
And then Emma Stone dies, Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid for this next Spider-Man movie. I'm like, okay, I see like more villains than before. Have we learned nothing?
I was thinking about that too. I was like, I'm so excited for all of these people, but then I'm also like, are we sure we want to tackle this again?
Yeah, I just want to be like, they have to have a plan. They have to, because they know the criticism everyone says. Like, there's too many villains in each of the third movies or the second movies, whatever. And it's just like, you guys have to know this. So you guys better have a great idea on how we can make this Sinister Six or whatever scary and like formidable, while also relating to Peter Parker and potential other two that might be there. So
I think one way that it could work for them differently is that every time they've tried to do this before, they are introducing new villains. I mean, even leading to like Harry Osborn being the next Green Goblin in the third movie, which, by the way, like, I just don't think that James Franco has the charisma to be a villain. I'm gonna say that now before we even do the next episode. Like, he just doesn't have the gusto to be a villain.
No.
It comes off in like not really authentic. It just like he's trying too hard, like, oh, I hate you, Spider-Man. It's like, bro, shut up.
Yeah.
Also, did you know, like, until recently, like, my memory just thought that, like, oh, that was the Hobgoblin. No, he's just New Goblin.
Yeah, that's what he was called.
Just
I'm like,
New Goblin? Like, why?
So shitty.
It's so crazy when it comes to that movie. It's like, you had great opportunity to.
Diet
Goblin. That's a movie that's just like a studio mess.
Right. So I think that the fact that, and then, for the second one with Andrew Garfield, they introduced too many villains. And then they're also trying to introduce this plot of like, oh, what were the parents up to?
Yeah.
But yes, that's
Like we
exactly
give
how
a
they
fuck.
said it in the script.
It's just
What are the parents up to?
Like, why is Spider-Man in a secret hideout underneath Manhattan in an old
Yeah.
subway car? I'm like, where did this movie take this turn?
Right. And nobody said no, we shouldn't do this. But I
Yeah.
feel like with this new one, we already know and love these characters. Like, we
Yes.
don't need an origin story because, like, we know Alfred Molina can play Doc Ock. We know
Yeah.
the maniacal laugh of Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin. We're ready for Jamie Foxx to take back the role of Electro. Like, we have that
Lizard,
information
Sandman.
already. Yeah.
I also
So-
read apparently with the Amazing Spider-Man 2, when the Sony leaks happened, one of the emails was an email between Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal, and Kevin Feige said, "This movie's a mess. Remove 2 of the villains."
Oh, yeah.
He
Yeah,
literally was
I
like,
looked at the
"Please,"
story.
he's like, "Remove 2 of the villains. You don't need this many villains."
Yeah, they definitely didn't need the rhino at the end. That was so fucking stupid.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
But, okay, so, like, that hospital scene,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like is just pure Evil Dead.
It is.
Yes.
100% it's the Evil Dead.
I mean, there's even a scene where the tentacles are coming at one of the doctors in the way that the Necronomicron evil comes at someone.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice little, like, tip the hat off to Evil Dead. That was one of the scenes also that I only just watched yesterday for the first time because as a kid, it just, there was no way I was watching it. I had my head down during that whole time as a kid.
It's
that was
a
intense.
wild scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have the scene where, like, Alfred Molina is, like, talking to himself, but he's also, like, talking to the tentacles,
Right.
which is insane. It's, like, such a good scene.
Which is something that they added just for the movie because again, it's not in the comic books. Like in the comic books, it doesn't imply that like Doc Ock turned evil because of the tentacles. It's just like he seemed like a shitty person that had this accident and now he hates the world. But this movie, they gave that added aspect and it makes it a little bit more interesting. It makes the tentacles themselves a little bit more interesting because in the movie they're essentially artificial intelligence. In the comic books, it seems to be like he has some mental control of these metal arms, and I don't know. It makes him more a compelling character.
To be fair, I
It seems
think
that
I'd be really cranky too if I had a bunch of mechanical arms that couldn't get off of me.
True,
Which-
true.
which also-
But it make life a little bit easier. Just imagine just like doing so many different things. Like you wouldn't have to work.
No, he doesn't even
No.
have to walk at one point. Like, he's just using the
Yeah.
tentacles, and I'm like, oh my god. Like, I'm thinking of my knees. I'm like, that
Oh.
sounds so good.
I'd be like 600 pounds because I'm like not walking anywhere. Just imagine you get like this big clank, 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 clank. I'm like, oh, Yonel is here. It's just like, hey guys, and I'm just like, a mess. Like, oh man, did you even bathe?
I can't get these things in water, man.
yeah, exactly.
Also,
Run the
too,
system,
like,
man.
the needles. Ugh,
Oh,
the needles.
yeah.
Oh my god. I think that was the moment that I had to close my eyes as a kid. I was like, no, I'm this close to walking out of this movie theater. Needles in the spine. No, thank you.
Yeah. Oh.
One thing about those arms, what's interesting because back then those were actually like 4 puppeteers
Yes.
controlling each arm.
Yes, I love that so
Really?
much.
Yeah, and like I read into it and I was listening because they asked both Tom Holland and Alfred Molina talked about it. He was saying like back then, like you had to act in accordance with the puppeteers. And he said now the beauty of like it's all CGI, which I mean it's a little sad because it's like I miss like the idea of this being these robotic arms.
Yeah.
But according to Alfred Molina, he was like it gave him a little more freedom to act without having to coordinate with other people. Like he had this thing called the I forgot what his thing. It was like this T stand where he would stand on this mechanical lever that would lift him up and down, so he could act willingly and freely, and the CG artist would then do the arms in accordance with the way Alfred Molina was acting.
Right.
So it's interesting how they're going to do it now.
Yeah, I thought that was really fascinating too, that there were like 4 real arms that he had to act with, and I think that that's so interesting, and I kind of miss that about practical effects. I'm always a big sucker for practical effects.
Oh yeah, that's why I think Jurassic Park 3 is still better than than Jurassic World movies, simply because there's actually a dinosaur on screen. Like Jurassic Park 3 is not good, but neither is Jurassic World. Okay,
right.
At least Jurassic Park 3 has an actual animatronic T-Rex and an actual animatronic Spinosaurus fighting.
It took me a really long time to watch the Jurassic Park movies because I was also scared of those movies for a very long time. And then I think a couple of years ago, my, at the time, 5-year-old nephew was more fine with those movies than I was. So we watched all of them together. And it just proved to me just like how Hollywood Jurassic World is, like even from like Bryce Dallas Howard, who will show up in the next movie, her running in like stiletto heels.
You know that was her choice.
That's crazy.
That was because I thought it was like a studio decision, like a very misogynistic studio decision. But then apparently that was her idea. She goes, "I wanted to prove that just because you wear heels doesn't mean you can't run." I'm like, yeah,
we
but
have
not
enough
when
of that.
Yeah, but not when you're being chased by a dinosaur.
Yeah, listen, I will speak for all of womanhood, all self-identifying womanhood. It's fine. We don't need anybody running in heels anymore. I am okay. I understand. Yes, you can run in heels. Fantastic. I'm so sorry for your feet. This just
not
sounds terrible.
Not only is it like authentic, but I feel like it's a little bit more creepy if she's like running barefoot in that scene. Like if she didn't have the heels and she was running barefoot, it's just
because
like,
it's real. It's real.
Yeah,
like,
it just feels like if. Yeah, I remember Janelle seeing that like in a clip or something that I was watching recently, and she pointed that out as well. Like, running heels?
Yeah. Yeah. That's clearly why I don't wear heels. But so like, yeah, so he leaves the hospital and he has this scene where he's talking with the tentacles, and I feel like that's so on Alfred Molina's acting skills. And also, I mean, like when you think about it too, like Tom, you were talking about how like now they have this new technology where it's a lot easier for him to act. And not worry about the tentacles being around him. Like, we have to remember the age difference. Like, so this movie's 17 years old.
Yeah.
So he had to be, like, what, 51 at the time? He's 68 now. And I would imagine that, like, you need a lot of, like, upper body strength to carry all of those tentacles on your back, realistically.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you have puppeteers helping you, that can't be comfortable.
No.
But I did really love the way they would do these scenes with Doc Ock, which I thought were really impressive, where he would turn and then like face the screen and then he turned back. Like the moment he realizes that the inhibitor chip is broken, it's just such a swift turn, and that's so hard to do when you have this like bulky mechanical stuff around you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really impressive, and I feel like captured the sort of like urgency of like his mind, you know, descending into insanity.
Oh yeah,
and then
absolutely.
Peter.
Yeah, Peter Parker. The whole point of this movie is Peter Parker struggling to be Spider-Man and Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
How many?
Just life sucks for him.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's just shitting on Peter Parker as usual.
Well, even remember the what was the like Jonas Jameson fires him and then hires him in the same sentence because he needs a photographer for some big event.
I love that so much.
And that's when like Mary Jane's like, "I can't be doing this, Peter. I have friends who saw my show 5 times, and you haven't even come once.
Wait, but so, like, let's talk about that, because, like, okay, after the birthday, they see each other, like, they're in their backyards, and it's like this, like, haha, look at us, you know, this, like, ode to, like, their childhood together. She, like, caresses his face, which they seem to do a lot in this movie, and they have sex eyes, not kissing eyes, they have sex eyes. And then she walks away and is like, by the way, I'm seeing someone. And I'm just like, if you need to figure out where you stand with your, like, attraction to this person, this love for him, versus, like, dating Elijah from the Vampire Diaries, like, maybe you should figure that out first before you agree to marry J. Jonah Jameson's son.
Who's going to space.
Who's going to space. Which they never make quite clear. Like, is he an athlete who's going to space, or is he an astronaut going to space? They keep joking about, like, playing sports on the moon, and I'm like, I don't know how serious I'm supposed to take this.
I'm assuming that he's just an astronaut, but that's a very good observation. Like,
I was really confused.
Yeah.
You know, in the comics, he becomes a space werewolf.
Amazing.
Yeah, man wolf.
Man wolf.
I'm like, okay.
Fantastic. I love that. But yeah, so that's where he, like, goes to the event, and just, like, everyone, it's just, like, it is an event for J. Jonah Jameson's son, but it just turns into an event to shit on Peter Parker.
Yeah, because
Harry's getting drunk.
And flips out again, slaps him silly.
He's like, you're my dad's favorite son, but also you love his killer, and you keep taking photos of him. You're not my friend. And he's like, I'm here for a job. And nobody is giving me any snacks.
No.
Yeah, I remember. Like, every time he was about to take something, someone else takes it.
It's just so sad and pathetic.
Also,
and then I can't remember what happens after this.
Well,
like,
we also have to, we can't forget to talk about one of my favorite characters. Why is my brain losing? Sorry, I'm having COVID brain.
It's okay.
Oh, Mr. Dukovich, who wants his rent. Mr. Dukovich. He's one of my favorite characters. Peter Parker lives in this, like, this shitty bedroom apartment that he shares a bathroom with other tenants. And it's just this guy, Mr. Dickovich. Oh my god.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Rent? You have rent? That guy's
yeah, I love that
best.
guy. Actually, so when we watched the first one, I was completely thrown off by him having the apartment with Harry. So when he had this apartment, I was like, oh yeah, this makes more sense to me. And then I realized, like, oh yeah, you can't really live with your best friend after you've murdered his dad.
Yeah.
And also, you both love the same girl.
Yeah, that would be awkward.
Yeah. I thought you were going to mention, Bruce Campbell's second appearance.
Oh, yes. Also, we have second
Beautiful
appearance
appearance.
of Bruce Campbell. This time, the guy that won't let Peter Parker into the show that Mary Jane is playing.
It's so interesting. That is, like, I didn't really put 2 and 2 together in the last episode when you mentioned that the idea was that he would be Mysterio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But seeing him again in this movie, and I had no idea he was in the second one, also, like, giving him a chance to play this different character, like, it's Bruce Campbell. He's great.
Oh, yeah. And then I remember we're going to have to watch the third one. I forgot who he plays in the third one.
Oh, he's in the third one, too. Amazing.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Amazing.
I forgot. Is he? I think he's their waiter.
Yes, he's the waiter.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he's the French waiter.
Amazing.
God bless
It's
him.
ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah, when I think Peter proposes to MJ.
Oh, yeah.
At the dinner party, and he's the waiter, and it's just like there's a band that he's trying to call in, and it keeps coming in and out. It's kind of a hilarious scene.
Mm.
Yeah.
He's so great.
Yeah, he that scene with him being the what do you call it, the usher in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, it adds to the illusion.
I also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
I was gonna say I'm trying to think where we should keep going because now because we know Doc Ock makes it through. He leaves the hospital and he's trying to recreate his plan and he robs a bank. I didn't know if we should speak about the bank.
Oh yeah, the bank scene. I do want to add, and we can like lead into it with the bank scene. Is that I loved Rosemary Harris's acting. I feel like you get a lot more of her character in this, and I feel like she brings such an old school way of acting to the film and her lines. Like, I feel like when actresses speak in the 1950s and the 1960s, there's such a syrupiness to it.
Yeah.
Like, there's kind of like this like luscious coding and the timing and the way she gives the words. Like, there's like a rhythm to it, and I feel like she really brings that when she's talking about like losing the house and she's going to be evicted.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So they go to the bank where Joel McHale is telling them like, you can't get a loan. And then that's when Doc Ock shows up to steal a bunch of money.
He's stealing a bunch of money because I think his plan is he's interrogated Harry to get more of that material. Which, am I thinking clearly? I think, was there like a version of the script where that material would have been like vibranium? I don't know. Something like that. Could be wrong, but like...
I don't know, but I feel like with how much MCU has infiltrated our brains, I feel like it's easy for us to be like, oh, that would have been vibranium.
Yeah. Well, like, because they do reference Doctor Strange in this movie.
They do. They do mention Doctor Strange.
Which is very interesting given the movie coming out.
Yeah. I was gonna say like I think that was because I remember reading Sam Raimi loved Spider-Man, but he also loved Doctor Strange.
That's cute. That
which
sounds
does
about right.
They're both created by like Steve Ditko and Stan Lee.
Oh yeah.
No, so he robs the bank first, and then he intimidates Harry for the tritium.
Oh, and that's what it's called, tritium. Okay.
Yeah. The bank scene is great.
Yeah. Here's your change. It throws it right back in.
There are so many jump scenes in this movie that I legitimately jumped at, and like one of them like was like him attacking the bank from like everything seems normal. They're disappointed that they didn't get the loan, and then all of a sudden, bam, action is happening. Or like when Harry senses someone is near and he looks over the ledge and then just one of the tentacles comes up. I literally like jumped in my bed when I saw that scene.
Oh yeah, there was just the little bits of horror aspect in this movie are really appreciated, and it was a lot of fun. Well, I think I might have had it out of order. Did he rob the bank first? I guess to buy more of the tritium, but that's when Harry, because I know Harry's deal is, I'll get you the tritium if you bring me Peter Parker.
I'll get you the tritium if you bring me Spider-Man, and then he's like
Spider-Man.
dead, and then he's like, wait, no, I take it back, bring him here alive, and I'm like, you're just some little bitch. You're not gonna kill him. But he's like, you can get him through Peter Parker, and then he's like, but don't hurt Peter. And then, like,
I know, right? He says that at the very end as he's leaving, right?
Yeah, after he's like already gone.
Well, because you know what's funny is that he says that exclamation like, don't hurt Peter. But remember, this is like the second time Doc Ock tries to get Peter. He throws a car at him.
Yeah, that's another like great, like shocking. And
he doesn't realize he's Spider-Man, so that would have killed him.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. It's like, oh, had he not known that was Peter, like that was Spider-Man, like Peter, if he was not Spider-Man, if Peter Parker was just a regular photographer who had access to Spider-Man, that would have killed him.
Yeah.
Also, like the Green Goblin is like his strength and his healing is enhanced, like he is mutated. Aside from the tentacles, Doc Ock is just a normal man. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't like a punch from Spider-Man just outright kill him?
Yeah.
It seems like he also has some enhanced strength. I'm not sure.
I think it's just the arms.
Yeah, they're. I think it's like even the comic books. Yeah, it's just the arms. Like there's one scene later on, right before they fall onto the train. Spider-Man takes one of the arms of the clock tower, of the clock from the clock tower, and just throws it at him. I'm like, yo,
so good.
Doc Ock would have been just fucking obliterated, like bloody mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like to your point, like I think they gave him enhanced, I don't know, durability or.
I think at least for the movie.
Yeah, because of course, no one wants to see Spider-Man just rip off somebody's jaw with a punch, but it is something that I noticed as well.
Spider-Man pulls his punches when he fights crime because he could obliterate people.
Yeah.
And I also love that scene now as an adult, because as a kid I was just like, Peter can't be with Mary Jane and she's so sad, and now I'm like, man, she really thinks she fell for a fuckboy. Like, she in that seat is like, oh my god, you told me that you would be here. I'm ready to break off my engagement for you, and now you tell me you can't, which is why I'm like, you have to figure this shit out first before oscillating back and forth between these two men. 3, including Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, fucking Harry. He
fucking
sucks.
Harry. So yeah, he tries to meet with Peter, and then like he shows up as Spider-Man. And I love that scene too, where he's like, we need to talk. Like, it's just like, ooh, chilling. And I love when he uses the clock hand as a weapon. And they're like using it back and forth on each other, like pew, pew, pew.
And that scene where he just like throws it back at Doc Ock, and it's like the web is like elastic, and it's just like a and then flings it right back at him. I'm like, that entire fight scene from beginning to end. It's kind of long when you think about it compared to modern fight scenes, but it's just like it's so well done that you're like kind of into it from beginning to end.
Yeah, from like him saying like, oh, tell Spider-Man I'll see him at so-and-so time, to, you know, that, and then the train. When we get to the train scene too, like it's a long fight.
Oh, and that scene, like obviously some of the CGI doesn't age well, but that train scene, like Yonel made allude to it earlier, is so incredible.
Iconic.
Yeah, it was so dope. I remember there's a scene where the train is passing underneath, I guess, a walkway bridge or whatever, and Spider-Man, like, kind of, I don't know, somersaults, but spins right through it. I remember thinking as a kid, like, that is the dopest shit I've ever seen in my life. Just, like, Spider-Man just, like, you know the scene I'm talking about, that particular...
Yes.
Where, he, I guess Doc Ock goes underneath it or whatever, and Spider-Man goes right through one of the holes in the walkway. I'm like, yo, this is badass. That's
awesome.
It was so great. And the punches felt real. And then when they go inside the actual train, while it's still going, great. Fun fact: that's not an MTA train. It's a Chicago train.
It's a Chicago train.
What the hell? This.
Oh, my heart, Chicago.
I'm like, my goodness.
I wonder why. I wonder what the logistics were, but
yeah, because when you think about it, I don't think there's a train like that goes above ground. That
in Manhattan, no.
Well,
there is a couple.
There's a couple.
The one train uptown, right?
Yeah, I've taken the 125th station, and that's always uptown. I do think what is ridiculous is a train would not end just like where it ends in the movie.
Yeah.
That is the one thing where I'm like, that doesn't seem safe without, Doc Ock and Spider-Man fighting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like, this train would end in a train yard possibly if that was the case, if it ended there. But if that's supposed to be, I guess that is actually supposed to be like the one line or whatever.
No engineering expert would be like, this should just have a straight stop right here on the water on this cliff edge right here.
Yeah, like this bridge, and it's just like, this doesn't make any sense.
But you have to say this scene is like maybe, I think when people think of these movies, this is the most, I would say probably the most famous scene. Like, it's been parodied so many times. And, like, even in the Spider-Man Into the Multiverse did, like, you know, its own take on this particular scene.
Oh, I still gotta watch this movie.
Hang on. You haven't seen it?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Into the Spider-Verse is, like, one of the best Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, I still want to watch it, especially now that they're doing another one, or they're doing something.
They are doing another one.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for that. There's a great Doc Ock in there, voiced by the actress who did Agatha from WandaVision.
Catherine Hahn.
Catherine Hahn plays. Oh, you don't spoil it. Don't. Yeah. But yes, she is
I'm sorry.
Into the Spider-Verse.
I kind of spoiled it.
No, I know who she plays. I know who she plays in the movie. And I love Catherine Hahn. She should be in everything.
She's amazing.
But like that scene, can we talk about that scene?
Yeah, let's talk about that scene.
I love that scene.
It feels like the most New York thing
it is
in any of the Spider-Man movies.
It only took me out a little bit that Tobey Maguire has the goofiest face.
I know. I also started laughing at that.
He makes all three of these movies. He makes very goofy faces.
He really does.
Yeah.
But this scene is so, man, I love this scene. It pulls at the heartstrings. It's very sentimental because it's only like 3 years after 9/11. There's still this like New York camaraderie. This unite behind like a hero being selfless, doing all these sacrifices. It's like the only moment where everybody doesn't hate Peter Parker.
Right. And the moment where they're like, oh, he's just a kid. And it's like, oh, he is just a kid. Like, even though he still looks really kind of old.
Probably the same age as the guy who said he's just a kid.
Yeah. They're only like 5 years apart. But yeah, it's like a very, I don't know, it kind of like grounds Spider-Man like amongst his people that he's saving. And it is just like the most New York scene. And they're basically like, hey, Dr. Octavius, I'm walking here. Yeah. All of New York is walking here. Get out of our way.
The Amazing Spider-Man tried to recreate it, and it doesn't hit the same. I don't think the MCU has even tried to recreate that scene.
Yeah.
Like,
good
to
reason.
this. Yeah, because you can't recreate it.
Yeah, and I think it also, like, that scene is so iconic to what, Tom, you were saying earlier on about, like, proving that, like, a hero can still be vulnerable, a hero can ask for help, because, like, the moment where he stops the train and he's about to fall over and they all, like, lend a hand and they get that zoom of the hands over the Spider-Man crest, you know, you feel it. It's very impactful.
He's just a kid. No older than my son.
It's all right.
We found something. We won't tell nobody.
It's beautiful. It's such an amazing scene.
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I mean, that, you know, the moment where, like, Peter Parker realizes that Mary Jane is in trouble, that Doc Ock has her after they met in the coffee shop, you know, it's like, that's when, like, that's what initiates his powers to come back. And it's like, sometimes, like, what makes you vulnerable is the thing that inspires you and keeps you moving forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. I also love the scene where he goes back to his home and sees that Aunt May is, like, packing up the things, and he's like, where are my comic books? And she's like, oh, I threw those things out. And I had I had the assumption that his illustrations of his costume were still in the comic books, and that's why she kind of insinuates, like, it'd be really great for Spider-Man to come back.
Yeah, it's clear that I'm like, oh, she definitely knows. She definitely knows.
Oh, yeah. Well, because there's this powerful moment where he reveals to her, like, I let the guy go that killed Uncle Ben. And there's that touching, powerful moment where she's like, she doesn't even want to speak to him.
Oh, that was so hard to watch. It was like, no.
But then she comes back around and I think she definitely knew. She definitely knew he is Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And she kind of gives him that inspiration to get back out there.
Get back out there, kiddo. But, yeah, and then the final scene, and I don't remember where exactly it falls in line with, like, Harry having his moment.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because it's, after the subway scene, it's Dr. Ock, he takes Peter Parker and then he delivers him to Harry.
Right,
and that's when we get the Harry reveal.
Right. This is the moment where, like, everybody finds out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Just the last half hour is just everyone finding out.
His identity's so public now.
Yeah.
Harry goes to kill Spider-Man and he realizes it's Peter. And Peter just straight up is like, "You're not going to kill me, dude. I got to save Mary. Let me go."
Yeah. Like, I know you're mad at me. I really don't care right now. And he's just like, oh my God. And it's like, bitch, I knew you wouldn't. And then he, like, sees his dad, but also it's like the Green Goblin's reflection in the mirror.
Right.
And, then they set you up for the third film with Harry being the new Goblin. But it really is, if I had to compare it to anything, it is really like Hayden Panettiere. Hayden Christensen becoming Darth Vader. It's just like, it's so mopey.
Yeah.
I probably would have preferred it if Hayden Panettiere became Darth Vader. She'd probably be really good at it.
Fair. Yeah. And we get our final showdown at the docks where Doc Ock was building his third son. This is the third son. He builds two sons in this movie. Mm-hmm. He has Mary Jane held hostage.
Again, and she's just held hostage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And battle scene unfolds. Very touching moment where I love the moment where he comes to realization too, when Doc Ock is kind of just, he takes back control from the arms.
Yeah, it's so good when they're trying to, like, hiss at him and he's like, "No, you listen to me now."
Yeah.
There's just so much, like, weight in his words.
And like what I love about it is, like, you see the power of his performance and just he knows what he has to do, and we really feel for this man. And, like, I think that's hopefully what will really work with this new movie is we get that. I don't want him to just be another villain. I'm hoping that there is this, like, revelation where he has more complexity to his character, where he knows what he's had to do and the sacrifice that he made, But
what was really distracting, though, throughout the whole movie, and I hope they don't bring it back for the new one. The weird buzz cut he had at the back of his head. Did you guys notice that?
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was so distracting. Like, and then I'm like, is it a toupee? Does he wear a toupee? And I'm like, I don't think he wears a toupee. But it was just like this really sharp buzz cut at the back of his head. And even as a kid, I remember being like, why would somebody have their hair like that? But, yeah, I mean, I feel like his performance, and especially the moments where he is talking to the tentacles, I feel like really does give that idea of, like, the audience is not stupid. Like, he can talk to the tentacles and we can all sort of imagine the conversation that he's having with them. We don't need it to be, like, spoon-fed to us.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then he makes the ultimate sacrifice. I don't think in real life, though, if they made a third son of that magnitude, I don't really know how much dunking it in the Hudson River would help.
Yeah, because the sun's a lot bigger than the other ones.
Yeah.
And No, that would just, I don't know. It would, I don't know. I don't know the science behind it, but I just know I'm like, dunking it in the river would not really do.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like a nuclear reactor. You just can't put water over it.
Yeah.
You gotta shut that shit down.
Let's take Bikini Bottom and put it somewhere else.
And the entire, by the way, the entire fucking Hudson River would be radiated.
Yes.
Yes. It is literally like a nuclear reactor. It's just like, if you dump water on it, that water is just poison.
Yeah.
For like hundreds of years.
It'd be like all the fishes in like The Simpsons with like the 3 eyes.
Yeah. It's essentially like, what's that place in Ukraine? Like
Chernobyl.
Chernobyl,
Yeah. Yeah. And then I feel like also one thing that was really odd is like, okay, so you see Mary Jane like almost being sucked into it because of course like a sun would have its own gravitational pull, obviously.
Right.
But my thing is like the whole time that she's being like sucked into it and she's like screaming her head off, which I always appreciate an actress who has a good scream.
Her scream was grating to me. Not
She
like
has
in
a
a
great
bad way,
scream.
but it's just like, oh my God, that's all I hear.
Yeah. The whole time, like Doc Ock and Spider-Man are not being pulled into it. Like they can stand on their own 2 feet.
Very strong. They got superpowers.
Yeah.
It's a very easy excuse, but I just kept thinking about that. I was like, nothing, not even like a little tug, a little like Chicago winds push. Guess not. That's okay.
Oh, good.
But yeah, I mean, they had to come up with some reason that like they could extinguish the third sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like in general, redemption arcs for a villain are also something that has become a trope, but like I still love them.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
Because there's humanity to it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like even the witch in the new Mulan movie, Gong Li, I freaking loved her. And they gave her a redemption arc, and I wish it was like a better redemption arc, but I was still really invested in the new character that they brought to it. More than the rest of the movie. So
because you kind of see like where they took the turn, but you also see where they're trying to make right by it, and that's also like that's very human. Like to Tom's point, it's just like it makes the character a little bit more in depth and just makes him more like he's trying his best to fix it, and he's willing to sacrifice his life for it. So that's go down with the ship that you created.
Cue Dido playing White Flag. But yeah, I mean,
oh, sorry, I was gonna wrap up with the last bit.
Oh, I was also gonna say that like the one component that we keep forgetting about too is that like this is a man who's grieving. Like his accident that he thought of so carefully killed the love of his life.
Right.
So at that point, like his sense of humanity is just in a very, very dark place. And then on top of that, he's got these tentacles telling him like, you need to redo this. You need to prove them wrong. That's all you have left. Oh
yeah.
But no, I mean, it's a great role. It's a great movie. I love it so much.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's one of, it is my favorite Spider-Man movie now that I think about it, even with Tom Holland ones. It's, Tom Holland is great. Mm-hmm. They're great. I mean, they're good in their own merits, but this one seems like a Spider-Man movie. Actually, this one and then, what's the first one? Homecoming? Spider-Man Homecoming with Vulture? Mm-hmm. I think those are my top two because it seems more grounded, more like he's not fighting crazy extraterrestrials or big world-breaking threats. It's just like a dude from Queens, like fighting a villain, right? Now, granted, this didn't take place in the Marvel, the MCU, but it still felt like, man, this is just a guy that's just like trying to fight to save his neighborhood.
Oh,
I do
yeah,
have
100%.
a question about the Tom Holland movies. I am actually like very interested in watching them now that like we're going back and watching the old Spider-Man movies. I'm very confused about the chronology of Tom Holland's Spider-Man because the first one takes place, they're like, it is this many years after the Battle of 2012. And I'm like, okay. And then they're like, then I go to the second one and they're like, well, because of the fight with Thanos. And I'm like, wait, hold on a second here. And they're like, all of the teens who were snapped into non-existence can now go back to high school, and now he's going to college. It's like, wait, what? How old was he?
So I think he first appears in Captain America: Civil War, and then Homecoming is supposed to take place right after that. Then Spider-Man. What's the next one? Far
From Home.
Mm-hmm.
Far From Home.
Yeah, it's Far From Home.
That one takes place after Endgame.
Okay.
5. Yeah.
And 5. I don't remember if they address it, but I think they allude to it that it's just like some of these people have to go back to high school.
That's
I don't know.
I do. Yeah. I remember what it was. Because Peter gets snapped, and I think like most of his classmates got snapped. So like the idea is when they all come back after Endgame, they're all still in high school, but like half the class moved on because it's 5 years later. And then like there's actually a running joke in the movie where like because they got snapped 5 years later, there was like a kid in middle school who now is their age and hot. And it's just like this weird balance that they're all kind of confused. They're like, well, before we were snapped, he was a kid, but now he's our age and hot.
See, that's the thing about the snap that annoys me so much. And I feel like they tried to cover it well in WandaVision with the one S.H.I.E.L.D. employee who got snapped, and she comes back and she's like, where's my mom? And I'm pretty sure like they're alluding to her being a bigger deal later on because
yes.
in the comic books, her character becomes a superhero. But it just gets too complicated too fast, and then I'm annoyed.
No, just 5 years. Just think, Peter, just 5 years. That's all you got to keep reminding yourself.
Yeah.
No, but it's only 5 years for some people. Like,
yeah, but it's only 5 years if it's only 5 years if you weren't snapped.
Okay.
What I kind of like about it as well is the fact that, it's like ramifications to these, world-ending events, right? Like in the comic books, like after they beat Thanos, everything back to normal. It's just like now, after Thanos he's still beaten, but it's like it's still 5 years later, and we have to deal with the logistical mess. I think that's part of the plot for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. There were no borders during
those 5 years because there was so many less people on the planet. They just kind of had no borders to like make work visas easier. But now all of a sudden, half the population comes back, and you have to figure out how to make that work.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? That'd be crazy. That'd be so wild.
Like the world would be more in a disaster if that happened. Although, who knows? Like with like half the people gone. And then that half coming back 5 years later, we might have a better plan. I don't know. It depends on who's left for those 5 years.
I just mean like logistically as like a society, like economically, financially, environmentally, like what would we do?
There's been like Great Depressions all over the place, essentially. It's just like been nuts. And you guys, I have to correct you guys. It's not called the snap. Even though it's a great name for it, it's called the blip.
Oh yeah, in Spider-Man they call it the blip.
It's not. It's the snap.
Even in the Hawkeye. Yeah, I know, it should be the snap, but they call it the blip. And I'm like, the fuck is the blip? But yeah, that's what they call it.
I'm sitting in Eric's gaming chair, and it makes a lot of noise, so I just want everyone to know that if they hear some like leather fart-related sounds, that it is Eric's chair. Okay. I can't sit still, and that's my fault.
It's not Courtney busting ass on the chair. It's the chair.
You know what's funny? I will say, like, when it comes to obviously the Thanos snap, I do kind of love it's become such a staple of our public discourse that I was talking to someone randomly, like another adult, about work stuff. And then he made a joke. He's like, well, that guy just Thanos snapped himself.
Yeah, it's become like a cultural
That's nice.
phrase. Like, I've heard it in other things too. And Tom, I just sent you, before we started recording, that video of Jordan Klepp talking to the wellness community in SoCal protesting against the vaccine. And he even, like, makes a reference to Thanos because some conspiracy theorist is like, well, the vaccine will just make a billion people die. And then he's like, well, who is doing that? And he's like, Bill Gates. And he's like, you think Bill Gates is doing that? And he's like, no, but he's probably answering to somebody above him. And he's like, well, who's the Thanos in the equation? And I just loved that. Like, I do love that, like, the Thanos snapping has become this, like, cultural thing that people understand.
It's become like the Luke, I am your father bit. It's become this cultural phenomenon where you can joke about, like, I'm just going to Thanos snap this, Yeah,
exactly. So I guess, Tom, you wanted to wrap up. Should we ask the question?
Oh, well, let's talk about the final bit. The final bit where the wedding is happening and she runs away from the wedding, and J. Jonah Jameson's like, call her up and tell her not to open the caviar.
I love that.
No judgment, no like, oh, what a fucking bitch. Just thinking about the dollar signs,
Yeah.
So great.
That run, though, that she makes to get to his apartment.
Yeah.
It's like so cheesy. I can't.
So
I remember
cheesy.
thinking, I'm like, oh, I can't take this.
I love it, though. I love the cheese.
Tom loves love.
I do. Their chemistry, I think, is more organic in this one, and I do love
when they make out, they go hard. In this one.
And there's that beautiful moment where like he says like I can't hurt the people around me, and she's like, it's not your decision, and that's a powerful moment where like you really like the final nail and the nail is hit. Like, this is the lesson of the movie. Like, sometimes it's okay to not only ask for help, but trust the people that you're being vulnerable with, that they know what they're getting into. It's not always on you to make sure you could take care of other people. Sometimes people just make the decisions and you got to live with it, and it's better for you.
Right. Like, you can't control the people in your life, and that's just as bad as like forcing them to stay in your life,
Exactly.
That ending was nice, but
I know.
To an earlier point, there is an ominous tone to it at the very end. I don't know if you want me to get into that now.
Go ahead. Yeah.
It's just like, as he, I guess, hears fire trucks and sirens in the distance, and she's like, "Oh, go get him, Tiger." Which, great callback to the comic books. That's her nickname for him.
Yeah, I love that line. I really enjoy that.
He's, he swings, and we kind of follow him as he's like kind of chasing where the danger's going, and then cut back to her, and she's leaning her head against like his screen door or his balcony door or whatever, and it's like she doesn't appear happy at all. It's like what have I done? Did I make the right decision? And it's kind of like, if for me seeing it recently, I'm like, oh, this is not. Is this good for her? Is she got swept up in love? Right? It's like, I don't know. I thought that was a little bit ominous. I'm like, oh man, if we got the true sequel to that in Spider-Man 3, I think they would have explored that a little bit better, a little bit more, and potentially grown out her character in a better way.
I'm not gonna lie. I think they should have just ended it here at this movie. I remember shortly after seeing it, they were like, 2 more movies, and I was like, oh no.
I think they could have made more. I just think I would have loved to see. I want so badly for them to make another Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. Right. And I think now with this whole multiverse thing, you could do it and the audience would be okay with it. Like, you probably couldn't do it 10 years ago. The audience would have been confused and been like, but wait, that's the other one. I think now the audience gets it, like, yeah, multiverse. This is it's the Spider-Man in a different universe. It's fine.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it would have been really nice to be in an alternate universe where, like, he got to do 3 and 4 the way that he wanted to, because I really think it would have been interesting to see Bruce Campbell and Dylan Baker, although I don't really know how he would be as a villain, but maybe this would be his time to shine as a villain. I don't know.
Actually, I looked up concept art and like read information about it. Essentially, you won't even really see a fight between Spider-Man and Bruce Campbell's Mysterio. You essentially just see Spider-Man bring him into the police station. He comes back in another maybe moment, but I think the focus of the 4th movie was supposed to be
the lizard,
Vulture, And
the vulture, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cute if like his just like one cameo in the fourth one was just like, all right, I finally got Mysterio, and then like I don't know, he says something that like leads into the fourth movie happening or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I do love her wedding dress at the end of this. From what I like could or couldn't remember, I thought that the wedding dress thing happens in the third movie. I thought it was like from childhood memory is murky. I thought that it's her trying to marry Harry in the third one, but I know that they share like an awkward kiss.
Yeah.
It was just, ugh. And but I do really like the wedding dress. It's very pretty on her. But the running scene is it's a little silly.
Yeah.
I felt just bad for John Jameson. I'm like, bro, you could have done this a lot better.
It's okay. He'll become one of the original vampires, and he'll go on to 2 other series on the CW. He'll be okay. Did you know?
That doesn't sound okay.
Well, it was the CW at the height of the CW, so I think he's fine now. He was married to Rachel Lee Cook.
Really?
I guess they like just got separated. But I also found out when I was looking into Alfred Molina's history, I thought this was like really beautiful and romantic and tragic and like, interesting. So he married an actress who was like 20 years older than him, or like she was like almost 20 years older than him. In 1997, she gets diagnosed with some form of cancer. She beats it, and they were together for a very, very long time. In 2013, his first wife, she is diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and in like 2018, they move her to a facility. And then I also saw, she passes away in 2020, and then he marries Jennifer Lee in 2021. Jennifer Lee is the successor to Disney Animation Studios after John Lasseter. She was the co-director of Frozen. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was like, wait a second, first I saw like the dates on the Wikipedia. I was like, how can you like be with somebody in 2020, they die, and then like you get married in 2021? Like that does seem really fast. And it turns out like they brought her into the facility in 2018, and Jennifer Lee confirmed that they had a relationship from November 2019. So when she was in like late stage Alzheimer's, at that point it's like a completely different person. So
right.
I guess at that time, and I kind of wonder if like him working at Marvel, working on No Way Home, I wonder if that's like the interaction that led him to his new wife. And I thought that was like beautiful and tragic and beautiful again. So I thought that was really interesting.
Wow. I did not know all that.
Yeah.
No, neither did I.
Really powerful. I mean, like, I think that like they must have had a really, really wonderful marriage if they were together for that long, and for him to like find somebody afterwards, like that must be really difficult to get through.
I can only imagine. Jesus.
Mm-hmm. I also had no idea that a female director was John Lasseter's successor, and that made me very happy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I just remembered this. I'm sorry. You told a very, very emotional story. To cut back, fun fact, in the hospital scene, one of the doctors is filmmaker John Landis, maybe one of my favorite filmmakers of all time.
Oh, we've talked about John Landis.
He gets murdered by Doc Ock.
Yeah.
But I love John Landis.
Isn't John Landis the one who had the issue on the set of the Twilight Zone movie, though?
Did he? I don't know.
Yes.
I know that
he did.
He's done Animal House, A Werewolf in London. He did the Michael Jackson Thriller music video.
Amazing.
Also, what was it? Fuck. Why am I forgetting?
One of the directors, because there are 3 directors for the Twilight Zone movie.
Okay. He was one of the directors on that. But also, I only saw this movie recently, but Coming to America, he directed that. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the
really
two, or is it like Coming to America?
Coming to America with Eddie Murphy.
Like the sequel? That's what I mean by like Coming to.
Yeah.
No. The first one. Okay.
Okay.
He didn't direct the sequel.
Okay.
I
There
think he
is
produced it, but he didn't direct it.
one of my favorite Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is in Coming to America. Her name is Garcelle. I forget what her last name is, but she's amazing. She's really cool. I'm trying to figure out which director. If you look it up, one of the directors had a very, very bad accident on the set of the Twilight Zone movie, and I feel like it was John Landis.
It probably was.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm looking at history.
Yeah.
The helicopter accident?
Yes, the helicopter accident.
During the filming of one of the segments, directed by Landis, actor Vic Morrow and child actors Macro and Renee Shin Yi Chen died in an accident involving a helicopter being used on the set. What the hell?
Yeah,
What?
And then that's when his career kind of stops.
I wouldn't say it stops, because he still made plenty of stuff after, but producer and
Sets a
co-director
bad
Steven
tone.
Spielberg was disgusted by Landis' handling of the situation. Wow, shit.
Yeah, and I feel like this is like a conversation that's happening in the media too, of just like, caring for the people on set, I think Ruby Rose is also fighting for like the rights of the people who have been on set of Batwoman with them.
And God bless them, because I read about some of the Ruby Rose's stuff, and I'm just like,
it's insane.
That's awful.
Yeah. So
I heard it was pretty bad.
Yeah. It's wild what happens on set of these things.
Oh my God.
With Baldwin recently, so.
Oh my
Jesus.
God. At least, maybe, he is willing to agree with, any investigation that's going on. But I just feel like from someone who's experienced, so much grief, I just look at him and I see a man who is, broken down by something he participated in. He seems to me that he is broken inside. And I think he just
I don't blame him.
and I think he just up and moved to Vermont or New Hampshire. I hope that he gets the mental help that he needs after experiencing the event that he was a part of.
I hope the families, though, it's
absolutely.
so tragic all around.
Yeah.
It's very evident that this was a movie where the pressure was on to film it as fast as possible, and you had a reckless, firearms, you had reckless people in charge of the firearms department. Because, the way it worked is that he was holding a revolver, and he cocked back the hammer, and he didn't pull the trigger. But the thing is, with a revolver, that if you let that hammer go, it will trigger and fire off the bullet. And if you've been told it's a cold gun, and you're under the belief that there is no ammunition in the gun, then it's just so fucking wild, that was allowed to even happen.
Yeah, and I'm somebody who I identify as a pacifist, so the fact that there could even be a prop that could be so dangerous on set is really terrifying to me, that somebody could wield something that is meant to be fake and it can still cause this much damage to not only this person but this person's family. It's just wild to me that there's just so little care that is taken into consideration for some of these sets.
But we gotta do better.
Yeah, we just have to keep learning from it, and that's why it's good to listen to the employees and the crew and the staff, not just the actors who are the main stars of it and get the biggest paychecks.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That was Spider-Man 2.
A great movie. Amazing movie. Yes. The next one is not going to be so good.
No, but I will give it this. It's significantly better than The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Trust me, it's a lot better.
That's not saying much.
Yeah. We will lose Yonel for the next one. I'm so sorry that you won't be able to join us for the third one.
I appreciate being here. Appreciate you guys having me.
You hate being here. I get it.
Absolutely hate it. I'm seething inside.
Disgusted. And but thank you for joining us, Yonel.
No, thank you for having me.
Is there anything that you want to add before?
In my mind, there's only two Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire movies, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man
Fair.
movies, and those two really defined my my teenage years a lot, right? Especially when I was like drawing comic books and trying to like the character I created back then. I was so I was too prideful to admit it, but he was a direct rip-off of Spider-Man. Direct. Right. I think I even came up with my own version of like with great power comes great responsibility.
I love that. I love
and,
that.
And I remember kids saying like, "This is Spider-Man." I'm like, no, it's not. You know. But it also kind of like it lended to kind of my career now, right? Because like I was drawing a lot especially because of that movie, and eventually led into career design. And yeah, it was those two movies were very formative movies when I was growing up, especially in high school. I remember people asking me all the time, "You can see those movies? You can see those movies?" Like, bro, I am. I'll figure out a way, whether it be bootleg or in the theater.
If it makes you feel any better, in middle school, I definitely created like my own version of like what was essentially Sailor Moon. But like,
really?
if it was like somebody who looked exactly like me, like I think I called it like Amber and the Cerulean Sun or something like that. And
I love that.
It was set in the near future, which at the time was 2010. I remember these details. And the characters had hover blades, which we did not have in 2010. But I feel like
awesome.
Yeah, I feel like it's so great for like when young like creatives come up with things that they're inspired by, like the artistic media that they see. I feel like that's so essential to like creating an imagination. So
yeah,
it's
definitely
awesome.
was when I was growing up.
I definitely made up whatchamacallit, different Saiyan characters. That was my thing. I used to draw different types of Saiyans.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah,
the muscles.
I was big into the DBZ, so I was always drawing Saiyans. Yeah.
Also Zoids.
Zoids too. Yes.
We played with Zoids a lot.
We did. That was the best part of 5th grade.
That was the best part of 5th grade. And Digimon, like I'd make up my own Digimon.
Oh, I did that all the time.
You know what
Yeah,
crushed
no, we
me?
have to bring you back for the Digimon movie. I'm just saying it right now.
I gotta watch that.
I own it on DVD. We'll watch it together.
You know what crushed me?
America.
Yes.
You know what crushed me
Sorry,
was
Tom,
like
yes.
5th grade, like being so into Zoids, and it was such like a thing our class did. But then when we got to middle school, it was like you couldn't like anything.
I know.
You
it was
weren't
over.
allowed. Yeah. You were not allowed to like any of the nerdy shit you liked in 5th grade.
I know. You had to like grow up so
me.
fast and have your hair in gel already.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was heartbreaking.
It was.
Yeah. Growing up. Puberty.
Yeah.
Okay, well, speaking of growing up, let's ask the question.
Yes.
Tom, Yonel, do you think that this movie would be as successful today as it was back then? By the way, for the record, the box office reined in $789 million.
Damn.
Incredible. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yeah.
I'm going to say yes, too.
There's a reason where most of the villains in this new one, especially, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, are like prominently featured in the teasers for it. Like that's the reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you just like did this movie today, it'd be great.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would like it. I would definitely like it.
I think I might have mentioned this before, but when my dad had quote unquote not heart surgery in 2012, he had a lot of like wires and stuff attached to him And I was one day like, hey, Doc Ock, what's going on? And it sort of like became like a loving nickname that we had around the house when he was like trying to heal and feel better. Just call him Doc Ock. And we, when you have like a cardiovascular surgery at the local hospital, they give you that pillow with like the heart on it. I think they give that to a lot of hospitals because I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger with the same pillow after his heart surgery. And we wrote on it like Doc Ock. And yeah, so like and my dad also loved this Spider-Man movie. So yeah, it was really enjoyable to rewatch.
Hell yeah. I'm glad. I'm really glad.
Yeah. What has been your weekly obsession, guys?
Ooh. Funny enough, and it's like all coming together. It's another video game. It's not a Cities. I realized like geeked out a lot hardcore last time.
No.
It's a bad thing, but I'm playing the terrible Avengers game that came out a little over a year ago.
Oh boy, yeah.
And I am ashamed to say that I spent way too much money on different costumes.
Amazing.
The character, right? It's like, it's so bad because some of these costumes are just recoloring of their normal costumes. So it's just like, oh, we get to see Black Panther, but in brown and blue or whatever.
Here's like a purple highlight to it.
Exactly. And so a recent character the DLC that got released is actually Spider-Man. And, it's a bad game. They don't have Spider-Man's mechanics right. But guess what I'm doing? Oh, what I was doing last night at like 11, just like, I gotta play this game. I'm like a comic book fan like that. I'm like, this is a terrible, god-awful game. I bitch to Yonel about it all the time.
Joe is kind of like that too. Like, he will play something and then complain about how angry it makes him the entire time. But he'll still keep playing.
I think you know what it is? It's like, man, what could have been? What fucking could have been?
Yeah, we were watching the first 2 episodes of Cowboy Bebop, and I was just like so happy to see it. Like I'm one of those people where I'm like, they didn't destroy it. I love the campiness of it. I love John Cho. I'm fine with this as is. And then the whole time we're watching it, like Joe is like, this isn't right, and that's not right. And if they're gonna do it like this, why'd they do it like that? And I'm like, just watch it. just
I have to
happy.
Watch it. I'm afraid.
And listen, just enjoy the ride. I love the campiness. I love that they like bring back the main composer. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. I trust you.
Tom, what has been your obsession?
2 things. Well, I'm sick, so I'm just watching things. I'm actually very much enjoying the Hawkeye show. It takes place on Christmas. It feels it feels like a Shane Black Christmas action movie, but in 6 episodes.
Okay.
And then JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is back, baby. Part 6, Stone Ocean, Jolene Cujo and her wild adventures in prison. Jolene Cujo. Yes, they sing the song too. Sing the song.
Oh, I love Dolly. I love Jolene.
Jolene Cujo is in prison in Florida and has to find the enemy and escape and save her father, Jotaro Cujo.
Okay, this might be the season that I need to invest in. I love that it's set in Florida, and I love that they named her Jolene.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Love Jolene Cujo. So that's it for me.
I feel like the only thing that got me out of this like vomit-inducing migraine has been Salon Paws, the muscle relaxing patches. My roommate Eric bought some new ones, and I'm so thankful because I just slapped them all over my neck, and it's like the only thing that made my head feel better. Separately, I am obsessed with Zendaya's red carpet outfits for Spider-Man No Way Home. Oh my god. Have you guys seen like the spine dress that she wore?
No.
Oh my god. It is amazing. Like, it is completely an ode to Doc Ock. And it's like black, simple, long, low in the back. It like fits her perfectly. And then like the back is this like copper metal piece that looks like a spine. and it's so amazing. And then she's wearing this other outfit at another event where it's like this big bedazzled blazer that looks like it's just like draped in diamond encrusted spider webs. It's so good. It's so good. I love her red carpet fashion. She's amazing.
God bless her.
Yeah.
So guys, thank you for tuning in. I'm gonna rush to get this out in time for No Way Home, which unfortunately I won't be there opening night for.
Oh, Tom, it's okay.
I bought tickets for that.
Oh no.
I'm sorry, man.
Maybe I'm hoping to go Saturday. If my COVID test Friday test negative, I'm going Saturday.
Okay, cool.
So I mean I think it's 10 days, and theoretically, like reasonably so. I got the test on Tuesday. It's safe to assume I had this Monday. So 10 days, I definitely could be in the clear by next Friday, Saturday. I'm hoping.
Yeah, and even if you test positive, like you could test positive for a while because of the antibodies and like the remaining dead cells that are in your body. So even if you test positive, so long as you are symptom free and you feel A-okay, you are.
Is that true?
Yes.
I thought it was you had to be negative.
No, because when I had my issue, they told me please stop going for tests.
Really?
Yeah. Especially for a case like mine that was like so confusing and like they were unclear of whether or not I was actually sick.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, guys, hope you enjoyed. Go see No Way Home. Enjoy it. Doctor Strange is in it, I heard. I'm very excited about that. I love Doctor Strange. The best
Not
episode.
confirmed yet.
Not confirmed. But
he's
Doctor
in it.
Strange. Yeah, he's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in it.
Yeah, okay.
No,
I was
teasing,
like, is this like a
teasing,
Marvel
yeah.
joke that I don't understand?
No, we're just joking.
But be sure to follow us on the Instagram at Remember00S Podcast. You can find us. Just type us into the search browser of your choice.
I haven't
We
done
will show up.
a lot with it, but I will again. It will happen.
We are found. Oh, my brain died. Spotify and Apple and Podbean and the
Maybe?
yeah. Sure, Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm gonna go to bed now.
That's okay. You go to bed. I'm gonna drink my fizzy drink, and Yonel is gonna get some rest.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely.
Of course. Bye.
This guy.
Dr. Octopus.
That's crap.
Science Squid?
Crap.
Doctor Strange.
That's pretty good. But it's taken. Wait, I got it. Dr. Octopus.
But I like it.
Of course you do. Dr. Octopus. New villain in town. Doc Ock.
Genius.
What, are you looking for a raise? Get out.
Chief, I found Parker.
Where you been? Looking for you all morning. Why don't you pay your phone bill? Mad scientist goes berserk and we don't have pictures.
I heard Spider-Man was there.
Where were you? Photographing squirrels? You're fired.
Chief, the planetarium party.
Oh, right. You're unfired. I need you. Come here. What do you know about high society?
Oh, well,
Yeah, don't answer that. My society photographer got hit in the head by a polo ball. You're all I got. Big party for an American hero. My son, the astronaut.
Could you pay me in advance?
You serious? Pay you for what? Standing there? The planetarium tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. There's the door.